McCauley. I am the Outreach Director for the Hollywood Fringe Festival, and I'm going to be moderating today's workshop. Thank you all for being here with us. I'm going to start by saying thank you to the Hudson for hosting us here today in this lovely space. I also want to introduce the other Hollywood Fringe staff that are here today, or have them introduce themselves. So we'll start over here.
Oh, hi, I'm Ellen. I'm Outreach Coordinator.
Woo!
I'm the producing director.
And we have two awesome volunteers who are helping us out today as well. Thanks, guys. So how this works today is there's going to be about 60 minutes of panel discussion. That's me asking questions of our awesome panelists here, who you're going to meet in a moment. And then there will be a Q&A at the end. So if something comes up in the middle of the panel discussion that you have a question that you really want to ask, please write it down, save it, and we will get to every single question before we leave here today. After this, there is a mixer that follows at 3 Clubs, which is a bar just down the street on Santa Monica. We're going to have a little mid-afternoon happy hour over there, and everyone is invited to join us. When you do get to the question and answer section of this workshop, we do ask that you keep your questions relatively general. What does that mean? It means if you have a really specific question about a situation that you're dealing with, that's a great thing to email support about rather than ask it of the whole room. But if it's something, if you're not sure, ask it and I'll let you know. Speaking of support, that email address is support@hollywoodfringe.org. It can be your best friend. And really that's it. It's never going to be your enemy. It's very helpful. Any question that you have about the Fringe, anything that you have about your venue, if it's specific to you, if it's general, always feel free to email support. We have probably been asked that question at some point before and we are ready to answer. A couple of events coming up that you might want to know about. We have a Twitter chat on Monday, March 27th. That is this coming Monday, just a few days away, at 7 p.m. Twitter chat is when we all sit at home and go on the internet at the same time and like talk to each other and make up inside jokes, and also the Hollywood Fringe account at Hollywood Fringe, moderated by Stacey Jones-Hill. She'll ask a series of questions, and it's a chance for you guys as community to get to know each other and see where people are at in the process, exchange some tips and tricks, things like that. So you can join that by following hashtag HFF17, and that's the number 17, not the spelled out word. So it's at 7 p.m. on Monday. Our next town hall, which is led by Festival Director Ben Hill, that's about marketing, is on Thursday, April 6th at 8 p.m. That's at Sacred Fool's main stage. That event is online on the Fringe website, so you can register to get tickets for that, just like you did to get tickets for this. The registration deadline for the guide is April 1st, so we're coming up hot on that one. So that is when you need to have your show registered to make sure it is in the printed Hollywood Fringe guide. However, you do have until April 15th to finalize the text. So what does that mean? It means by April 1st to make sure your show is registered, and then if you're still working on your description or anything like that, you have a few days to finalize. You can still continue. That's also the deadline to buy ads, if you want to buy an ad in the printed guide. April 15th is the description and ad deadline. Yeah. And the last thing that's coming up, we do a social series leading up to the Fringe called Office Hours, which are bar mixer nights that we do every single week on Wednesdays, starting next Wednesday until the Fringe. So they take place at different bars all around Hollywood. I'm at almost all of them, making you wear name tags and introducing you to other Fringers. Ellen joins me often, and other staff is there as well. These are community building opportunities and also like a fun excuse to have a drink in the middle of the week if you need an excuse to do that. And it's a nice way to grow a little bit of community before the festival actually opens, so that once we get to the opening night party and there's like 700 people there, you have like 10 people that you know really well. So it's fun. So next Wednesday at 3 Clubs, 7 p.m., I'll be there with my name tag on. I hope you will join me. And that is all of my announcements. Can I get a show of, oh, sorry.
Repeat that venue.
It's at 3 Clubs.
3 Clubs.
Yep, which is a bar on Santa Monica and Vine.
And what was the date of the town hall?
The town hall is on Thursday, April 6th. Yeah, absolutely. Okay, can I get a show of hands for all of our first-time Fringe producers in the room? Awesome. So now you know, if you were new and you're feeling like you don't totally know what's going on, you are not alone and you are among friends. So thanks for joining us here today. I am going to have our panelists introduce themselves because I've been talking for far too long already. So I'm going to ask you guys, who are you? What have you done? Do you have a project this year? And then why do you Fringe? And I'm going to start on the end with Ben.
Okay. My name's Ben Moroski. I do not have a project this year. I've produced in 2012, 2014, and 2016. 2 solo shows. In 2014, I won Best Solo Show at the festival for The Wake, and it also won the, thank you. It also won the Stage Raw award for Best Solo Show that year. And then last year I produced Tilt, which was a 2-man show that was nominated for Top of the Fringe, Best World Premiere, and Best Ensemble. So, and why do I Fringe? I Fringe because it's an extremely affordable way to produce new work, and it's a great community to do it in. So it's a place to try things that would be difficult to try otherwise, and yeah, so it's always exciting. So that's me.
Hi, I'm Katelyn. My project this year is called Quantum Entanglement. This is my 3rd year at Fringe. First year I did a solo show like Ben. I actually approached Ben, I'm like, hey, how do you Fringe? And he was a god and helped me, and now I get to be here and talk to you. It was a Murder Blood Bear story. I ended up touring that internationally. So that was a lot of fun. And last year I did How to Be a Virgin in 12 Morally Ambiguous Steps. And so, yeah, I'm so excited to see all your faces. I'm so proud of you being so brave and coming out here and trying new things. And I Fringe because I can't not Fringe. I've never found a community that is so delicious, so enrolled in each other's experiences and succeeding. I mean, the playing field is leveled. I'm like, what can't you accomplish and who can't you be inspired by? That's why I fucking love it here. So, yeah.
Hi, I'm Kristen Boulé. I run Two Sons Theater Group here at the Hudson. Last year we did Nilbog, the Troll 2 musical parody, if anyone was around for that, over at 3 clubs. This year we have 2 productions in the Fringe. We are going to be doing another musical show over at 3 clubs, a currently untitled cabaret that takes place in a mental hospital. It's a lot of fun, so you'll want to come check that out. And we also... So, we'll talk after. We have a big festival that we do here. It was last week actually here at the Hudson called Acting Out Ink Fest, which is a female playwright festival. We just finished our 4th year, and so we started this year a program called Best of Ink at Fringe. So we have selected one of the shows from the Ink to go on to Fringe. So that'll be our 2nd production. It's called Charlie Moose Makes His Move. It's amazing. It's a black comedy. You'll want to see it. So yeah, and why do I Fringe? Because I mean, we do stuff all year round as a company, and we look forward to the month of June more than anything. We get so excited to just be around not just so much theater and art, but all the people. We make so many new relationships every year, and there's so many awesome new people entering our worlds, and that continue year round into other projects. So it's such a fun month. Like, you're gonna want to just clear your calendar, just be here on this strip and surrounding for the month of June, and there's just stuff every day and constant new people to meet. So get excited.
I'm Matthew Robinson. I have a play this year called Mary's Medicine. Last year was actually my first year doing the Hollywood Fringe, and I had a play called Politically Challenged that was, for me at least, a success. And it was a lot of fun. And yeah, I write and produce and direct. And the reason I Fringe is I enjoy the challenge. I enjoy meeting new people. I love storytelling. I love hearing other people's stories I would never hear if I didn't do this. No joke, June through the end of July last year was probably one of the best stretches of time in my whole life. It was just amazing. So it's going to be a lot of fun and challenging, but in a good way.
Cool. My name is Nick Rubando. In 2015, I wrote and directed a show called Thenardier's Inn, which won Best Cabaret at the Fringe. That was at 3 clubs. Last year, I co-produced a show called Mad Lib the Musical, which was also at 3 clubs, which was nominated for Best Cabaret. This year, I'm doing a show also at 3 clubs. It's called The Legends of the Hidden 3 Clubs. It's actually a game show. So I'm not sure if there's ever been a game show at Fringe.
I don't know.
So we'll just build this one as Fringe's first game show. But if you want to be a contestant on Legends of the Hidden Three Clubs, let me know, because, yeah, of course. You know, wear your Blue Barracuda shirt and come on out. But why I Fringe? It's so, the connections you make at Fringe are amazing. I mean, I have met so many friends doing Fringe that I didn't know before this, and the connections I've gotten to do different theater projects, different collaborations with people. I can't stress enough the importance of going to like all the mixers as well, just because the connections you can make with people are fantastic, and this ground, this community that Fringe creates is so awesome. So I'm glad you're all here. That's a great step to becoming a part of this. So congratulations, you did it.
Good job. Awesome. And my name is Megan. I produced a show in the very first Fringe in 2010, and then moved here and started working for the festival. And I've been doing that ever since, and I'll continue to do it forever, I think. And I Fringe because my life's calling is community creation, and I get to do that here with really wonderful people. So thanks for having me. All right, and let's jump in. So another show of hands question for you guys out here. Who already has a venue here?
Oh,
Yeah. Okay, so some of you don't, which is also totally fine. And I was going to ask you guys, do you have any tips on how to secure a venue? How do you get the venue? How do you find the right one for you?
Oh yeah. I mean, a lot of the venues are I find are somewhat show specific.
Yeah.
Like, so know your show, know what works well at your show. I mean, 3 clubs is basically a bar. You're going to be doing your show in a bar. So if you think your show would work well with a bar theme, then that might be an awesome venue for you. If it's more of like a traditional theater show, then definitely search out a traditional theater, because I think a lot of the spaces, the venues, like know what they want. You know what I mean? And so if you have a good idea of what your show is like and how it's going to, you know, play well in that venue, then the venue coordinators are much more apt to accepting you into their show. You guys kind of go with that?
No, definitely. Yeah, we do like to do musical stuff for Fringe, so we tend to do our musical things and our parody fun stuff at 3 clubs. But we're looking at different venues this year for our Best of Ink. It's actually the first straight normal play that we've done for Fringe. So looking for a normal theater.
Well, yeah, you just have to also like think about the audience too that you're trying to get. Both my play last year was at the Complex, this year's at the Complex. I briefly thought about 3 clubs because I'm doing a play about a woman who operated medicine out of a bar. And I was like, oh, she operated medicine out of a bar, and maybe I should have it in a bar. That's half the set design right there. And but the problem is 3 clubs is 21 and up, and I wanted to make it a play that like young women could go see and young kids could go see, so I couldn't have it in a bar, so I had to move more to a traditional stage. So think about that too. Every venue may not be the right venue for your audience.
And I think my most helpful thing is going to shows and seeing what the atmosphere of the theater is like. You know, how they operate it. You know, how your audience members are going to feel when they come in, and they're going to step into this magical world, and what kind of people are there to support your vision. And you also got to be persistent. You know, the Fringe managers are super wonderful, and they're also super busy. So it's best if you know exactly what you want and how to get it, and just be forward and decisive. And yeah, if you find a venue that's closer to Fringe Central, I think that's ideal, you know, so you can all go for a drink afterwards. But, you know, people will travel to see your show. If you're not near Fringe Central, don't worry. But, I mean, you get a chance to be, no matter what your space is, you get a chance to be inventive. You get to be a detective, right? You get to figure out how to make it work for you, how to fringe it up, how to make it simple but powerful. So that's part of the fun.
Awesome. And as far as figuring out what you need from a venue, do you guys have any tips for that? Is there things to think about when it comes to rehearsal time, tech time? Does that come with a venue, not with a venue?
Yeah, there's a lot of parameters. Yeah, I mean, how much, like if your play requires anything, some spaces might have a very, very small storage space, others may not, so that depending on what your show requires. I mean, if your show requires nothing, then you'll probably be good anywhere. But if you have a specific light, let's say you need a spot or you need a certain color gel or something. I don't really know what all the spaces have to offer as far as that goes, but different ones are going to have different, because you won't be able to touch anything most likely. So what what's there is what you have to work with. So knowing if you need anything specific as far as lighting, if you have sound requirements in your show, different spaces will definitely have better equipment to run your sound off of. And storage, also the in and out times. Most of the theaters give you 15 minutes in and out of your show. If you have a show that needs more than that, there are some venues that are more flexible. So yeah.
Can you clarify what 15 minutes in and out means?
Sure. So like what if your show's at 8 o'clock, you literally can't step into the space until 7:45. So that's when you walk in, you have 15 minutes to like do whatever you have to do to be ready to start your show. And then same on the back end, 15 minutes out. So that's, what most Fringe shows are built to be able to do that. But if you have like a musical or something, for some case, different venues like the Hudson and 3 clubs, I know for instance, have different scenarios with that where you can get longer load in and load out time. But most I think are really only do the 15 minutes.
In terms of rehearsal space, with the theater I did last year at the Flight, they have classes there. The Complex is a venue that has a lot of classes in a lot of their spaces. So there were some days and some times that were blacked out for me to do rehearsals, and I really had to work with a schedule. I had to schedule my actors' time when they could do it, and then also when the venue was available. You also want to think about the price. We had to think, can we afford budget-wise to do it at this stage? When we just have to always do the stage with the stage manager. So keep that in mind, that some of the places may not be places you can rehearse all the time.
And there's nothing wrong with, of course, rehearsing somewhere else or in another venue, even that's on the Fringe Strip, if you can't get into yours, because it's always hectic.
Cool. So as far as budgeting goes, because you just touched on that a little bit, obviously budgeting is difficult in any process. For a Fringe show, even harder. Where would you recommend, because you guys have all had a little bit of experience here, where do you save your money? Like where you're like, that's not a thing I need to spend on right now, and where do you know you need to invest in?
I would invest in graphic design, and I would deprioritize buying a bunch of ads in a bunch of different places. That's just my experience.
Except for the Fringe website.
Yes, except for the Fringe website. That's the only place I buy.
No, I'm just kidding.
No, it's actually true though. Joke. I mean, whether or not it's a joke, it's true. I mean, that's the only place I've ever bought ads is the banners that you can buy on the side of the Fringe website, just because it's high traffic during the festival. And yeah, I would say for me, as far as marketing, graphic design for your poster / postcard is more than essential, because there's going to be over 300 shows again, probably.
Yeah.
So it's an easy way to stand out, or an easy way to prioritize to try to stand out.
Yeah, also it does base a little bit on your play. If you're doing a play that's a comedy, props might be a very important thing in your budget line. Whereas opposed if you're doing maybe a solo show and it's just one performer, maybe you don't need to worry so much about props, but you might have to worry about how that character is dressed, because it's going to be all set on that person. You're going to have to think about how the play is going to fit, how much marketing is acceptable, and how many seats do you have in your venue. You should look at it for every dollar you spend, how many people do I need to have come see my show to recoup the money I'm spending on marketing, on props, on costumes, on feeding your actors. You should always feed your actors, by the way. That's a top priority. Don't cheap on that too much. But think about that when you're making your decisions. But don't go crazy with marketing, because eventually you're going to have to target what demographics you need anyway.
I think a really important line item that people forget in budgeting too is, like, of course the show is super important, but I find that when June comes, like, I want to have enough money to actually go see other shows as well. Because I think a big important part of like having your show is going to see other shows, and then you see other shows, they come and see your show. But you kind of forget that, like, I mean, because of course you try to make deals with like your venues where people can see shows for free, and then you can go see shows for free, but eventually you're gonna have to spend some money seeing other people's plays and other people's productions. And you kind of forget that, like, well, that can kind of cost some money come June time. So I always like to kind of try to save myself the time and like save a little chunk of that for just like going to see other people's shows as well. Something that doesn't really come up when you're like just planning a regular budget for a production.
Yeah, and along that line, your best marketing tool ultimately is free. It's your face.
Yeah.
As far as being around the festival,
No, it's
seeing
true.
shows, being at the bar, being here where you already are. I can't say it. I mean, like, it's, to me, that's what's most important, is to be at the festival. It's a festival. Be at the festival. It's very easy. Just go have a drink or find someone to buy you a drink. The first year I did the festival in 2012, I knew 0 people going in. And I was doing a solo show that was autobiographical and serious, and it was like, oh, great, you know. But I just hung out at the bar the whole month. So as much as I was able, and it made a massive difference. And yeah, can't emphasize it enough. It does make a difference, even if you're sitting there lonely at the bar. Your show isn't panning out. It's panning out. People are around. People want to see interesting stuff. So use your face.
Totally.
I absolutely second that. Also, things like besides the postcards, Fringe loves stuff. Buttons are all the rage, and anything that you can, you know, I don't know, anything you can print your stuff on. If you have anything that's kind of pertinent to your show, condoms with the name of your play on it. I don't know. Anything you guys, anything you can think of is something people can take with them that aren't big, always big bulky postcards, because you get tons of those. Are a good idea. Things people can wear, especially.
So when it comes to, once you've got your budget in line, you know how much money you may need to raise. Do you guys have any tips as far as your most or least successful fundraising attempts? And that's a question everybody has, like, how do I get this money? Is that right? How do you have any tips for fundraising?
Pick up extra shifts.
Yeah. I mean,
Actually, that's a question. Do you guys spend, like, is it money out of your own pocket? Is it a combination of money out of your own pocket and fundraise money? Like, what's the split like there? Is it only money that you've raised for your project?
I mean, I have a job, so I try to use that money to. I don't try to fundraise as much because I feel like, I mean, I know it, I get it, it's tough, but it seems like everyone has like a GoFundMe project and stuff like that, or you know, the like, and you can kind of get bogged down with like, oh, here's another person's Indiegogo that they're posting on their Facebook, and it's like, I don't know, it's difficult. So I try to do things that I know that I can spend the money on. And if that means trying to come up with a creative idea to make this less theatrical or less, you know, something that maybe I don't need as many props for. You know, I definitely try to plan my show based on how to make it as inexpensive as possible. I mean, that's just something that I personally like to do for Fringe, and I think there's like fun ways that you can make it happen like that, because you know, it's Fringe. It doesn't need to be this grand theatrical premiere. I think things that do really well here are usually pretty low key. I mean, they're like, you know, a lot of like one-person shows that don't have like a ton of theatrics, and
As far as like design elements?
yeah, as far as like design elements, and plus it's like you like Kristen was saying, you get 15 minutes to go in there, and you can't have a huge lighting design or anything like that, because it's just, I mean, well, but
we break all these rules.
yeah. So I mean, I would just, when you're planning, if you can try to come up with creative ideas to save money, do it, because it's tough to raise money. I mean, you guys can piggyback on that if you want, if you've got more creative ways than just don't spend.
any.
Well, I mean, you got it. It's planning. I spent all the money pretty much out of me and my producing partners' combined savings. Keep in mind, if you do a fundraiser, if you're doing a Kickstarter or a GoFundMe, you're burning capital with the people who give you money for your play. You're going to need these people to come out and see your play, so they're already paying to get your play off the ground, and now a lot of plays expect them to pay when they get to the front door too. So you're talking about someone paying $10 to $30 to see your play once, and you'll get a few people, but you're also going to lose a lot of people too that way, and they're going to become, it's going to get kind of mixed in with the promotion of your play and the promotion of your Kickstarter, and they're going to kind of shut it off. So I would avoid that as much as possible. If you're going to do a Kickstarter or GoFundMe, make it for something very particular. Maybe make it for the costumes of your play, or just to cover the venue of your play. Don't make it for the whole thing. That's asking a lot of people and yourself. As far as failed fundraising, I wouldn't call it necessarily a fundraising thing, but I plan to spend my tax return money to pay for some of the expenses of my play. I signed the contract for like my second or first installment on my venue, and I was driving in my car with my producing partner, and he said, "Hey, there's smoke coming out of your car." And so my car, after over 250,000 miles, had died, and all of a sudden my tax return money had to go to buying a car so I could get to work. So I had to really scrimp. I sold old speakers that I had laying around, and like video games and books and everything I could find, and it was just, if it wasn't tied down, it was being sold on eBay or OfferUp or whatever I could, and thankfully that helped us recoup our loss, but just be prepared.
Yeah, I think it's worth thinking of, at least I've always thought of doing stuff at Fringe, producing at Fringe as a artistic and a financial investment. As far as, I don't know if I've broken even on any of my projects. I've come close, I think, but I think it's worth having a party if you break even. And also not, it can't be about the money as far as recouping your investment. It can't be. Otherwise, you're gonna drive yourself nuts for the entire month. You're gonna be worried about, crunching the numbers that are never going to add up. It's just how it is. And it's not a bad thing. That's not why we're here. And if that is why you're here, cool. Let me know how it works out. I'll take tips from you. So I would treat it as an investment. It's fun that way. It releases you from that expectation, and you can focus on what's really important, which is the art that you want to produce.
It's the cheapest way to produce theater by far. You'll
Yes.
never find another opportunity to produce theater for the budget you can produce it for at the Fringe. So, yeah, if you think if it feels expensive, it's far cheaper than any other time of year. It should do like a full run. If you're lucky enough to have, if the topic of your show has a niche or a cause or something to it, then it is easier to fundraise, because then you can put together a campaign that's that reaches out to people who care about your cause, and then you can kind of go that route of seeking donors and that sort of thing. So that's a more specialized, which a lot of won't apply to everybody, but I'd be happy to, if anyone has more specific questions on that, I could talk to you further.
Cool. So when it comes to one of your revenue sources, your tickets, how much do you guys charge for tickets usually?
Depends on the show.
Yeah.
Depends on the show. What do you think is like a range you normally see?
10 to 12.
Yeah, I was gonna say I wouldn't go too much more than $10.
Yeah, 15 at the top
Yeah, 15
end.
at the top, yeah.
And do you guys do discounts on tickets as well?
Yeah.
That's what I would tend to go, you tend to charge more than you really hope to make on your tickets, because then you feel more free to give discounts, so.
Plus, people feel like they're getting a deal. We had a show that was $12, but we had tons of promotions that made the tickets $8, $10, even like $6, because then people felt like they were saving money. But we just needed the seats filled to make our money back. So just think about that a little bit.
And do you guys do specific discounts for specific groups of people?
Yeah, I've always done, this is just my thing, I know people do it differently, I've always made my, by the way, the Fringe ticketing website is awesome, it's so easy
Seriously.
to set discounts and all that stuff. I've always set, for Fringe participants, I've always just done pay what you can for all Fringe participants, just because we're all out here busting our asses trying to do this stuff, so, but I know people do that differently, but it's always nice. I think a great discount is for, if it's pay what you can, or any dollar amount less than your full ticket price for Fringe participants, I just think is a nice sort of show of solidarity, and people appreciate it, because we're all in the same boat when it comes down to it.
Do you mind going into a little bit how to set that up?
We'll talk about that, yeah. So save that question for me, but go ahead, Katelyn.
This actually, I learned this from Ben in my first year as well. This is a great way, if you're going to give a discount, like make a solid one, like friendships or whatever. So like are people like, hey, can we do a pay what you can or workout tickets? That way you're not like berated with people being like, hey, can I see your show? And you like have to make a ticket for them. Especially, you can just like give them the code and you're good to go and worry free. So that's like a little cheap for the discounts. Yeah.
I also like the get together with the people in your venue. I know like at 3 clubs it's been awesome. We have a really good relationship with everyone who's there, but it's so much easier because like you're all there anyways doing your show. You're super familiar with that venue. So like get to know the people in your venue, be really supportive of that venue, and then it will be really easy to have people who do other shows there come see your show. You can go see their shows.
And cross-promote.
Yeah, and like the cross promotion through that is super simple. I mean, if you want to do like free venues, you can, or just like a discounted situation. But that I always find is a really good look.
Yeah, the easiest place to start with that is the people who are in front of you and the people who are coming in behind you each day that you're doing your show, when the festival rolls around especially, but it's a nice place to start.
Totally.
Two tips that I've heard in previous panels that I'm going to share. We have one producer who says his tickets always cost $15, but he's never sold a $15 ticket. So he has a discount code for every single person that he meets. And so it's billed as $15, but he never actually intends to sell a $15 ticket, but he's giving himself a little bit of room to go down from. The other thing you can do is if you do have targeted groups that you're inviting, if you're doing outreach to say college students and you really want every college student from UCLA to come to your show, have a UCLA specific code that is like UCLA, so you can know how successful that list or that invite was for you. So you can name them based on, if you purchase a paid ad somewhere, and so you decide to name your discount code after where that paid ad was placed, you can sort of track back, was it worth it financially for me to pay for that ad? In your admin tab on your project page, you will see a section about tickets and discounts, and you can make, as far as I'm aware, an unlimited number of discount codes. With any title you want, it could be like, Megan is the best, and that ticket is $5 or whatever, and it could be, you can name them like after your family member, you can call them whatever you want, and you can either set a fixed price or a pay what you can price.
Hey Megan, can I add one more thing?
Absolutely.
I think it's worth not doing, unless you're really intent on having a free show, set it at pay what you can. If you want to offer people a free ticket, just set it at pay what you can. If someone gives you $2, awesome. If someone gives you $1, amazing. But if you set it at free, then you don't even give yourself the opportunity to have people give you money because they want, and people do want to give you a couple bucks. They're coming to see your show. So, and if they come for free, fine, but at least give yourself the option if you're going to do pay what you can. So, rather than just free all the way.
That's a good tip. There's a lot of talk about like comp swaps, so swapping free tickets with other shows, but I think the pay what you can option is fantastic. But do you guys have rules, like who do you comp? Like who definitely gets a free ticket to your show if they want one? Besides your like parents and my parents pay.
I'll start on like kind of one of the more stringent options. With our cast and crew, we told our cast you get one comp per show, and you get, you have one switch or comp with another show, and then you only get to give one free ticket to someone outside the Fringe once throughout the entire run of the show. So, mom and dad, choose which one you like more. Because I believe that you should pay for it, and I do agree that pay what you can is a good deal, but keep in mind that you're also asking people to pay to see your show, and you want them to respect that it's a show that costs money to put on. Comp swaps, I would limit it to however many, this is just my rule, however many 10 seats you have. So if you're in a black box theater with 20 seats, don't give more than like 2 to 3. If you're in a theater with 50, don't give more than 5. Because people will come.
So 1 for every 10.
Yes.
I think it depends also on how, it was kind of back to the conversation earlier about how much money you're intending to make. I give away far more comps for my Fringe shows than for any other shows that I do the rest of the year. I'm like super, super strict on people giving out comps, but for Fringe, we're like, please, everyone come. We just want people to, because you only have a few shows, and the only way that anyone's gonna know that it happened is if people come and see it. So especially in the early shows, use your preview show, pack your preview show. Like don't expect anyone to pay for a ticket for your preview. Just get people there.
And
so
why
that
do you
people
want
like
people
it.
there?
So that they talk about it, and so that people know they can talk. Then they'll go to Fringe Central and be like, oh my God, and people say, what have you seen that you loved? And I'm like, oh, there was this show that was amazing, and that's how people will continue to see your shows. Also, there are people that might spread the word more than others, people who are other producers who are gonna help cross-promote your stuff. Matt Quinn, give Matt Quinn a comp for your show. And yeah, people who do awards, you'll reserve comps for all the sponsored awards. Is that something we're gonna do? So there are a lot of companies and groups do sponsored awards, and so they'll you can submit yourself for these awards, or some of them might reach out to certain shows that they feel are good for their award, and so you'll want to be ready to like offer out comps when people are like, hey, I'm doing this award and we'd like to see your show. You of course want to give comps for that.
Do you guys hold seats in your audience, in like emergency comps like that, in case somebody messages you last minute? I've heard both ways.
It's not a bad idea. You usually have people at the door, so you're probably not gonna lose on the seats. I don't know.
If you're lucky enough to have like a sold out house,
Yeah.
that's awesome.
Wish I had.
That's an awesome problem to have.
Yeah.
Where you're like, oh no, a journalist is here and we have no seats. But I don't know.
Wouldn't worry about it too much.
I wouldn't worry about it too much.
All right,
I would worry about just getting people in the door. I'm a big fan of comping tickets. I don't know. That's just how I roll. But again, you know, like kind of like Ben was saying, like if you're in this to really make some money, like, you know, this is not the right place to be. But it's so much more fun. Like, you know, I also like to try to see as many shows as I can. So if like I can do a comp swamp with someone and be like, yo, you want to come see our show for free, and I can see your show for free, that's awesome. If I can do that with like, you know, 50 people at Fringe and just put an extra seat or two on the side or something, that's a win for my book. So.
Cool. All right, we're going to switch hats now. No more talking about money, although kind of everything is about it. Let's talk about marketing a little bit. And so you guys have all been around the Fringe many years combined and also individually. What makes a show stand out to you when you're like, either when you're talking to somebody about their show, when they're giving you their pitch, or when you're looking at flyers? What makes something stand out?
I mean, artwork, bold artwork is important in Fringe. There's thousands of postcards everywhere you look. There's things on the ground and on the walls, and so anything that pops, whatever that might mean for your show.
And postcards still are currency. I mean, as well as the other things, the other paraphernalia that you're creating for your show. I don't know many other places in life where postcards still factor, but they definitely still do at Fringe, in my experience. So it's worth putting the time into making one, and please put something about what your show's about on the postcard. The title is not enough. That's one reason I will set down a postcard again if I pick one up and I have no idea what it's about. The image and the title do not tell me enough 99% of the time. So it's worth, on the reverse side, putting a blurb about, as well as the other essential information, but having a sentence about what the show's about can't be. I think it's essential, in my opinion.
And what is the other essential information for a postcard?
Name of the show, address,
venue,
Tickets, how to follow you.
The website that you can get tickets on.
Yeah.
dates and times.
I also think it's super important, if you haven't already, like come up with like an elevator pitch for your show, because when you're at the bars and you're meeting people, you know, you don't get a ton of time to talk to each other, but like you want to have like a couple lines that you can rip off super easy when someone's like, hey, what show are you doing? And you're like, oh, I'm glad you asked, because it's blah, 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 blah. And they're like, whoa, that's super cool. They're like,
that's exactly how every interaction.
Pretty much. Do you have yours already for your show?
Your
elevator pitch?
It's basically, it's a drunk history game show where true legends tell the story or something. It's on my phone, I'm sorry. My phone is being used to put this on Facebook Live, which is another cool thing you can do to market your show. I know. But come up with a log line, so when you're at the bar, you can tell people about it, and it's like super quick, super easy, and super exciting.
Kind of going off of that, also play around with your log line and your title a little bit. Originally, my place called Mary Medicine, but originally I was going to call it Mother Cole, which is what Mary Cole was called. And I said that about 4 times in a bar, and everyone kept going, what? What is it called? And I was like, okay, I'm going to call it Mary's Medicine. Never has happened after that. So keep that in mind, and just practice your elevator pitch. Keep going to office hours and everyone else, and find out what people react to. When we did Politically Challenged last year, eventually it got to the point where all I had to say is, it's a comedy about a politician who says something racist. That would never happen, right? And then people were like, I'm interested, and then they would go. And that's all I had to say. And I was like, I'm interested in that play. That's happening in real life. So, go for it.
Really, really important that everyone on your team has the same elevator pitch. it's a solo show, then it's super easy. There's like 3 of you probably that have to have it straight. But if you have a cast of actors, especially make sure the actors, because actors love socialize and talk and be out there, and they might have their own idea of what the show you're doing is. I don't know. But make sure, like, have them practice it in a rehearsal. Be like, okay, tell me what you would tell me. I'm serious. Be like, yeah, be like, okay, so hey, what's your show about? And make sure each of them have an answer that actually, one, makes sense, but also sells the show the way that you're trying to sell it.
And in that, also rehearse maybe like, where is it?
Yeah.
And like, make sure everybody knows.
Where are our shows? Do you have postcards on you? Always. Yeah.
Yeah, your postcard is your calling
Train
card.
your cast.
So
Have the postcards.
bold, evocative, maybe it asks more questions than it answers. But another thing I find, like, people get really in their heads, like, oh, this is what my show is about, and this like cloud is represented by this blue aura, and there's a penguin over here, but you don't necessarily know. But if you see the plane, you'll get it. But no, I won't, because I don't get it now. So I would, like, when you're being all conceptual about how you want to present yourself physically, you know, in paper form, like, and talk to your friends, your fellow artists. Like, how does this hit you? Does this sound like what I'm trying to sound like? You know, run it past people and see. It's more important that people get a grasp of what you're trying to say versus like your concept. So but yeah, it's key.
And I know we heard earlier that maybe you don't need to buy paid ads in other spots, but does anybody feel like it is a good idea to do? Like, have you ever purchased an ad somewhere outside of the Fringe site that worked well for you?
I think Facebook ads are pretty cheap, and usually I've found I haven't done them so much for Fringe stuff, but like producing other things, they usually get a good number of tickets hit and sold when I do and they're not very expensive, and you can tailor it really well. You can set parameters on there for like the people that you want to see it and the demographic, and it's pretty simple, and they're pretty inexpensive. So.
Awesome. Cool. So as far as networking goes, we've heard a lot about how important it is to come out to events like this and meet people. Do you have any tips for like networking to meet new audience / friends, and also how to turn like that first meeting of somebody in a bar or outside of a theater? Like, how do you turn that into someone who then becomes engaged in your show?
So I hate like promoting myself. It makes me feel it makes me feel gross, and I don't like to go to a bar like in office hours. I'm like, I gotta get as many postcards out as possible and make friends and see my show. Like the people who come up to you and are like, hey, here's my show. Okay, goodbye. And you're like, I'm never gonna see that shit because you didn't invest the time. So I try to approach it as everyone in here is super excited about their show, and they believe in it. It's the best thing they've ever done in their life, and I want to enroll in that. And I'd rather have like 3 or 4 really long, in-depth, meaningful conversations that really get people enrolled in each other's work than try to have like 10 to 15 conversations in a night. And I always feel more validated. And those are the people who come to your previews, you know, the people you put time into, and the people that spread the word. So like, you don't have to be a crazy rabbit. You can just be yourself and be present and be okay. Like, this is nervous. This is hard. There's a lot of face and social anxiety. But you can do it. You can do it.
Fringe is also like the best place to learn how to network and learn how to market, because you never ever any other time will you walk into a bar and be met with people who are like, hi, are you doing a show? What are you doing? When is this? That never will happen again. Normally you have to go and seek out the people to pitch to, but around Fringe, when you're at office hours or the Fringe Central or 3 clubs, you're surrounded by people who are like, I want to hear what's good. I want to know what I should see tonight and tomorrow. And you can, as a producer, wake up and be like, I have 0 tickets sold for my show at 6 o'clock, and be sold out by 6 o'clock if you put the work in. Because you can just get out there, go to the places, get on the messages, start looking at other people. You can do it. You can totally get the tickets sold. And I call it networking for dummies, because you can walk into the venue and people are ready to be like, here, practice on me, sell me your show. It's awesome, so take advantage for sure.
So make sure you are one of those people too. When someone comes to talk to you, it's a win-win-win situation.
And if you're not interested in, again, same thing. If you're not interested in not seeing, or if you're not interested in seeing other people's shows, you're at the wrong event. You know, it's people want to see your show, but it's about community. So it's like, I've always prioritized just being there and having good conversations and seeing things that resonate with me, or seeing shows by people who resonate with me, and then telling them about my show, and it generally comes out in the wash with the work when you're around. So I would say it's about community, which is as much giving people what you have as also receiving what they have to offer. So yeah, I would keep that in mind.
I would also like, I mean, when you guys all raised your hands, there's so many of you that are first-time producers here. You know, and in addition to just talking about like what your show's about, talk about your experience with Fringe, you know, and you can learn from each other. And I think it was cool when I would go, you know, when we would all go to the events, and as they would progress along, you would keep seeing the same people, and you'd be like, hey, I remember talking to you that you had, you know, this issue. How are things going? How are things coming along? And you can kind of grow into the productions as you continuously go through these things. And I think it was really cool to see other shows growing, and then once the Fringe came, you're like, man, I really want to see this show because I've seen this person 3 Wednesdays now, and like, you know, I've talked to them about their rehearsals, and I feel like I'm almost in this show.
They're not as depressed as they were 2 weeks ago.
Yeah. But you know, everyone is having a very similar shared experience to you, which is another crazy thing. Like, when do you get a huge group of people who are all having a very similar shared experience? So in addition to like pitching your show, ask people about, you know, not like what's your show about, but like how's your show going? How's it, you know, what's happening? And then you can build those relationships. And then I think that's key. The relationships are key, because when people not only know about your show, but know about you, know about what's going on in your life, they're like, I want to see that show. That person's cool. Like, yeah.
Do you guys have any tips for how to engage, like, in theory we all have like a non-Fringe related life or a set of friends that we know. Do you guys have tips for how to like engage those people, like without being spammy and without posting on Facebook every day to have people come, you know, do you guys have any tips for that?
Yeah.
How do you get your non-Fringe friends to care about this?
I would say, you know, don't bombard them with stuff, because that turns people off. I think when you're first starting off during this month, just kind of start mentioning it every once in a while, maybe an Instagram post, Facebook post, maybe show a picture of you like getting stuff ready for my play and stuff. Keep it kind of subtle. As it gets closer to the Fringe, maybe you should start thinking about every other day posting some update, but frame it in a way that it's not telling people, come see my show. They're your friends. They want to probably be a part of their life if they're decent friends. Just make sure that it seems exciting. Make them want to be a part of what you're doing. Like, this seems like so much fun. Wow, such and such is like having a great time doing rehearsals. What's their play about? Make it feel like it's their idea to come to your play, not that you're like, come see my play, please.
I have a slightly different take on that. I totally agree with all the subtlety and everything, but I also think personal invitations are really important. And I think rather than bombarding with like, I mean, because the more you post on social media, or the less people notice it, to be honest. Especially if they're not already really interested. Like, it's one thing when we're looking for Fringe shows, we're gonna notice, oh, what's this Fringe? But like, if they're people who aren't interested in this world already, then they're probably not really noticing those posts, I think, also. So I think all the subtle posts and everything sort of puts it out there so they know it exists. But I think like a schedule of 2 invitations, like, you know, a couple weeks in advance, and then something that's a few days that's, hey, I just wanted to remind you, I'd love for you, and not the mass messages, because nobody appreciates the mass messages. It has to be a personal invite. And I think depending on what you do as a producer, if this is like your big thing and this is like it and your baby and you wrote it and are in it, then invite the world and get on there and put 3 days aside where you're going to sit there and personally invite every person you know. If you do shows all the time, then you can't do that for every show, so you have to kind of pick out who your audience is for that one, but be like, okay, this is the show that means a lot to me because of this, and this group of my friends is really going to connect with that, and so I'm going to personally make sure that each of them know how important this is to me. So I think the personal touch for everyone, rather than just constant like, come see it, oh my god, it's amazing, it's the best. Because people don't pay attention to that after a while.
I also think it's really cool, and I have to give the Hollywood Fringe props for this, is like, you know, coming soon, you're going to see billboards in Hollywood for the Hollywood Fringe, and you're going to hear like radio spots for the Hollywood Fringe. So your people who are not necessarily involved with the Hollywood Fringe are going to be like, oh yeah, I've heard of the Hollywood Fringe. So if you tell them like, hey, I've got this really cool show, in the Hollywood Fringe Festival. It's this awesome festival that like there's 300 different shows. It's this huge thing in Hollywood, and like sell the festival, guys. This is a really cool event that you're all being a part of. And they're gonna be like, whoa, that's actually really legit. Like this is not just you producing some show, even if it is just you producing some. But you know, like the Hollywood Fringe Festival is cool. I mean, you know, sell the festival, sell the excitement that like. You know, and you're gonna see people walking up and down this like Santa Monica Boulevard just like in droves, and you're gonna be like, what is going on down there? So I think that's really a cool way to get people involved who maybe have never been a part of Fringe, have no idea what Fringe is. You're like, this is a cool festival that happens in the city that you live in, and like come be a part of it.
Yes, join us. All right, so as far as social media goes, there's many platforms for social media these days, and it gets talked about a lot as a networking tool, but it can be a little bit overwhelming. I'm constantly overwhelmed by it and obsessed with it at the same time. So what do you guys use and why? And do you run it yourself? Do you have somebody else do it for you? Can you talk a little bit about how you use social media?
It's so important.
Yeah, I mean, I do Facebook and Instagram pretty religiously. I don't do Twitter as much. I know that you guys do like Twitter conversations and stuff like that, but I think just because just the visual arts of the Facebook and Instagram are really important, especially when selling your show. I think like behind the scenes posts of like rehearsals are super important because those always look really cool and get people engaged in what's going on. You know, my producer partner and I run our Instagram and Facebook accounts together. I also have a lot of help from my other friends who like, you know, don't be afraid when you're doing something to be like, hey, can you take a picture of this? Like, you know, everyone gets it. But I think it is important to have content that you can share and give out because it makes a lot of difference to like have people see things and you know, and go on to the Facebook, go to the Hollywood, like hashtag Hollywood Fringe Fest 17 and like other people's photos. And, because then they're going to be like, oh, who's this person who just liked my photo? Let me click on their, and they're like, oh, they're also doing a show. And then they can see your photo. So the hashtag Hollywood Fringe HFF17 is super important. Live on that.
As we speak, he's doing his Facebook Live, and I just messaged my producing partner, and I was like, so it's really important. And just like Nick said, to not just to promote your stuff, but to get the likes and following each other, and that's, you know, a huge thing. Just because then, you know, everyone's aware of each other. I feel like, and being aware of each other there's so many big entities. So just making sure that people know you exist is a huge thing. So the more you like other people and get them to notice you is very important. And some shows do their own handles. Like if you have a thing, you know, when we did Nilbog last year, we started our own Instagram for it and our own Twitter handle, and we did our own thing. We're not doing that for our shows this year, but depending on your show, if it's kind of its own niche, then you know you can totally, even if it's just for the Fringe, like start your own thing for it if you think that will help, if people will recognize it.
For people producing smaller or who have a smaller production team, I've done 2 solo shows that I produced, wrote, and starred in, and then last year did a 2-man show that I produced, wrote, and was in, and my team's always been small. It's always ultimately boiled down to just me. And it can be overwhelming. Social media is awesome, and it's essential to have it as part of what you're doing, but if you have a small team, or if you are feeling overwhelmed generally and you don't have a small team, I think it's do what you can. Just do what you can, and fuck it, you know? Excuse the language. But, you know, I have only ever used Twitter for the Fringe Festival. I have the same account, and I just change the handle every time I've produced to the new play. And I think the only followers I have on Twitter are just people who through the HFF17 hashtag. But it's handy to be on, and it's another platform. But I would say just do what you can. Don't break your neck over social media, because at the end of the day, all of this, you know, included, if your product's not where it should be, then social media is not going to save you, as we all know, in life in general.
I love the Twitter chats. If you haven't hit that up, that is a lot of fun, because you get to be at home in your PJs with a glass of wine and just just like, and I've met people online and got interest that I don't necessarily see out in, because those are people who stay at home, you know, for the Fringe experience, you know. But there's a lot of audience members to be had. For example, like somebody I met through Twitter, my first year is actually here today. That's weird. And I met him through like Twitter and Twitter chatting, and he came and saw my show, and now he's here doing a show himself this year. So like, it works. The outreach works.
The power of the internet. All right, so my last topic for you guys before we open this up to Q&A is a little bit about press and publicity. I know some people, especially for first-time Fringers, might have questions like, are you going to get press at your show? How do you do that? Do you need a publicist? What does a publicist do? Like questions like that. Do you guys want to talk a little bit about press and publicity and how that works for you guys?
Yeah, so we, 2 Cents has we have a regular publicist. We work with one of the best, in our opinion, David Elzer. And we a couple years ago used him, and we spend a lot of money on him in our shows. And normally year round, it's so important. Like what his work does for our productions is insane. But when we used him at the Fringe Festival, we didn't really feel like, and he kind of said, he was like, I don't really know, like I'm totally happy to do it, but it's up to you guys kind of thing. And so we used him and kind of definitely felt after that we didn't just get the response like that we do when we're using him for a production outside of the Fringe. And so last year we were like, yeah, I think we're not gonna put you on for Nilbog, and we decided not to. And yeah, we didn't have lots of press, but I don't think that you get a lot more necessarily with a publicist. I think that there's a group of Fringe press that likes to go to Fringe and press that won't go to Fringe. And if the press that will go to Fringe is already kind of actively looking for things to go to, do a press release. There's a spot on the Fringe. Yeah, there's a spot on the Fringe site to put your press release up. If you don't know how to do one, I'm sure you can Google a template. It's pretty basic on it. You can totally do your own press release. It's not hard. Don't be daunted by that. It's just all the information, and just Google. Or again, I'd be happy to help if anyone has a question about a press release. Let me know. I could send you something. But I think the press kind of looks right. That's interested in Fringe shows kind of already looks for stuff.
I also think it's important. There's a lot of people who do reviews themselves. Like within the Fringe community, and getting like actual like Fringe reviewers to come see your shows. Is there a way to tell who is like a certified Fringe reviewer on the Fringe website?
Yeah, they're labeled.
All that means.
Yeah, they're labeled. I know they're labeled as such, like on their profile. But it's really cool because a lot of people will write up really awesome reviews of your show. Like they'll come to see it. Eric, right there, that guy. If you don't know him, get to know him. He writes awesome reviews. And that's really cool. And then like people will look at your show and they'll see these like genuine, organic reviews that other Fringe people have written about you. And those are like, you don't have to pay any money for
Sort of
those.
like the Fringe version of Yelp on your show page. Other people who have purchased tickets to your show can write a review for your show.
And leave reviews. Leave reviews when you see shows. They're so appreciated. I mean, you'll see that as a producer, like, because if you're trying to decide a show to see, like for me, if I'm like, oh, I have this, there's a time that I want to go see a show, and none of the ones that are really on my list are there. So what are these 5 shows? I'm definitely going to probably choose the one that has like the most audience reviews, because I know people are seeing it and there's something about it. So they're really important to leave as well as receive.
Also, do it early. If you're going to submit your press release, start getting it ready now, because these slots for people, review critics, magazine publishings, whatever, online magazines, they're gonna fill up their Fringe slot if they are interested in Fringe early. And if you're trying to get a jump on, if you want them to come to one of your first performances or your preview, those spots are going to get taken up really fast. So the earlier you can do it, the better. I kind of got started late last year, and by the time I got to asking people to do it, most of them were saying, sorry man, we're already booked solid for that day. So I was able to get a few, thankfully, but earlier you can do it, the better.
On all that information, a lot more information about press and press resources is on our support portal on the Hollywood Fringe website. And thank you, I did not make it up, but I am pleased that I got that laugh. And you can also email us again, always, at support@hollywoodfringe.org. So before we start the Q&A, I know that we have at least one venue here. Are there any other venues here today? All right, Matt, do you want to wave and say hi
Yeah,
and tell us
hi,
your
guys.
venue?
My name is Matthew Quinn. I book Theater Asylum, which are 6 venues throughout the city. Most of them are booked, but for any of you, how many of you are still looking for a venue? There's a few. Oh, they're all right here. Great. All right nearby. I'm giving a tour right after this at 4, so you can grab a drink. If you're interested, come see me. I'll be down here with cards.
Thanks, Matt. Awesome. All right, well, first let's give a round of applause to the panelists for that. Now, we'll do this in quite the orderly show of hand style fashion. I will get to everybody, I promise, but who has questions? All right, with the bun and the tan sweat. So when you do get a question, please stand and give us your name and your best stage voice, your show, if you like, and then your question, so everyone can hear it asked.
Hi, I'm Rachel Lockhart, and my question is, I want to make it as easy as possible for people to come, and I know that Hollywood can be kind of overwhelming, like with parking, and I think like for me, in the past, sometimes that would stop me. I just felt like, oh, where am I going to go, and I don't know these places, and so like, what did you do to make it easy for people to come? Like parking just in this area already, like on a regular day, is kind of tough.
Yeah.
So like, just what did you do to like make getting here easy, I guess, for your audience?
You just have to let people know, give them a heads up that it's a shit show. I don't know if there's an easier way to go about it. I'm not sure if anyone has any.
I mean, the Hudson has valet parking. This venue has valet parking. If that's important to you, if you think that that's a big deal, then that could be something you might want just to have for your patrons.
You can be a little creative in your social media. We did on our Facebook page for the our play. We told people like maps, like this is a good place to park around this time and this performance. It may be gone by the time they get there, but they'll appreciate it. And give them a time like, hey, if you want to be here at 7, I would be looking for parking no earlier than or later than 6:30. Something like that if you know it's going to be a busy day.
And is it all mostly street parking around here?
Yes.
So people just gonna have to find something.
Yeah, I would recommend, trying to make a day of it. Like, it is a festival, and most of the venues are pretty close. Like, you can walk to a lot of the venues. I would definitely highly recommend it if you want to get with people who like have shows on your same day, so you can kind of like market it as like hey, this would be a really cool block of shows to go see on, say a Saturday. Or depending on when your time is, because I think that's how I always like to knock out shows. I'm like, all right, I'm gonna like put this day aside and see like 5 shows, because I know I can go down to Hollywood, park, and then just kind of like chill and go and walk to a bunch of different shows and see them. And I think that's a great way to get around kind of like I just got to get into Hollywood at 7 p.m. Like that's that's always
Many friendships are born by people waiting for a showtime to start. We've done many hours together here for that reason. We also are big fans of LA Metro. Shout out to the Metro. There are 2 big Metro stops nearby. Hollywood and Vine is probably going to be the best bet. And then the bus, the 4, runs on Santa Monica Boulevard, and I take the bus more in the month of June than I do all year round. And it's pretty lovely, so feel free to ride the bus.
Don't forget the loading zone tip.
The loading zone tip, never heard of it and won't share it.
Good.
Next question.
Hi, my name is Ann Johnson Brown with the Lyman, the play about a homeless veteran. About the press, you guys were talking about the press releases going out as soon as you can. And I just thought maybe you relied on just them finding it, but are you saying we can reach out to the press personally? And how do you do that? How do you find who to reach out to, and what do you suggest for how to contact them?
I wouldn't recommend it the rest of the year, but for Fringe, I do think it's appropriate to reach out to certain press. Is there a list of approved Fringe press?
Not, well,
There's a list of outlets that cover the Fringe, but we don't provide
contact information.
Contact info, but if you go on the portal and if you go on there and look at the press awareness article, there's a list of outlets that cover the Fringe. And then, I think it's about going to their sites, seeing, if they have a email address that takes their submissions, or give us a call and find out. There is a little legwork involved, but but,
Yeah.
but remember
That's
that that
okay.
work is
Yeah.
work that will serve you moving forward too. You only have to hopefully build your press list once. So,
Okay.
Yeah, I would, emails are tough. Call whenever possible, and then try to get a name of it, and then an email from there. Because a lot of times when I go onto like big websites, they'll have like a contact us page and then a kind of a general email that you can do submissions for that never really leads to anything. I find it a lot easier to call, say what you're doing, try to see if you can get a personalized email of someone from there. So
I've always used a publicist, even though I'm doing like tiny shows. There are publicists, I'm sure still, who give like bare bones Fringe rates to send to cheaper rate. I know nothing about publicity as far as reaching out to the press, so I've always felt just more comfortable with creating a press release, getting a bare bones rate from a publicist who has a list that they send their stuff out to. There are names. I'm happy to talk to you after. Yeah, but just because I don't know what early, but when's early? I don't know. So what does early mean? So just someone who has an idea of like, here's the timeline when you're producing something. So that's just me, and that way, yeah.
There's also a participant packet that you'll all be getting as producers that will list a lot of resources like this. Photographers who offer discounted rates for Fringe shows, videographers who offer discounted rates, publicists, etc. And that will be coming to you in the next few weeks. So that comes too. And then next, okay.
And actually, you can view last year's, if you go to hollywoodfringe.org/participants, that's where the new one from this year will be posted, but last year's is still up there, and a lot of the info in it is still pertinent and good still.
hollywoodfringe.org/participants.
Plural.
Right over here.
A couple years ago, we did a show and we paid Bitter Lemons to write a review for us. And I couldn't remember, like, at the time it seemed kind of weird that I wasn't sure if it was standard practice that you pay a critic to come and review you. I found it at the time that I wanted a review, so I did it. But then I remembered seeing last year that there was some sort of big debacle with them. So is it ever, should we expect to pay press to come see our show, or is that a scam?
I think Bitter Lemons has rebranded since, actually. They're now called Better Lemons.
It's now, it's a
That's not a joke, that is what they're called.
Are they a partner with Fringe this year?
Sorry?
Are they a partner with Fringe this year?
They're still covering the Fringe. They're still covering the Fringe.
When I'm not producing plays, I'm a theater journalist, and you should never pay a
That's what I
journalist
thought.
to come to your show. They're getting a free ticket to your show, that's what they're being paid, and then theoretically, their outlet is paying them. If they're working on their own and writing a blog, then that's their choice, but you should under no circumstances.
Yeah, watch out for Better Lemons.
All right, next question. I'm going to go far back there in the green t-shirt.
Hi, Bonnie Sluderkoff. My show is called The Magic School Bus, a Traumedy. It's a solo show. I'm also producing slightly off Broadway, a 5-person cabaret of Broadway parodies, and also producing The Physicist.
wow.
That's it.
I have a lot set up here. Is it unreasonable to contact press if you have more than one show and tell them about maybe like 2 shows in one email, or is it completely necessary to bombard them with a separate email? And also for PR, if you want to hire somebody, is there some kind of ballpark range of like, if you haven't hired a publicist before, like what that range looks like?
I mean, I don't know what a bare bones Fringe, our person doesn't go below 1,500, which is why for Fringe we've deemed it unreasonable, but I don't know what.
I paid less than $1,500, but it's also not the same publicist,
Yes, of
and
course.
it depends what you're looking for, and it's worth shopping around and having a conversation about it. So I would keep your options open until you find something that fits your budget.
That's a great thing to ask other participants about. Also, like at these mixers, like find out what those things are. Not always, that's always.
As far as your email though, I would 100% keep it to one email, and bullet point it and make it as like simple and like expect whenever you're sending anything to the press, I try to like just write the article for them basically, but this is a little different because you want them to see the show, but bullet points, make it simple, make it super easy, and do not send them more than one email about 3 different shows, if you're all producing, just give them one email about all the shows with all the information on it.
I would advise focusing on one more than the other though, because I think if an email with just 3, these are the 3 things I'm doing, I think is less likely to get attention than if there's something specific. Like I would focus on
Or like
one.
even like sending from a different email or having somebody else.
Honestly, that kind of would be I would personally do that.
Yeah.
Because I think the press it should really be like, this is the show you have to see, rather than here's some options for things. It should be like, this you have. So yeah, and maybe, because maybe only one will interest them or pop at them, and that's great. That's better than none. But if they're blanketed together. So
that's
being a little, like the different emails or having someone different on your team send out for different shows is not a bad idea. So that it doesn't seem like you're bombarding, and making them all feel a little different, like really making them about the show, and each one has the graphic for that show, and that sort of thing. Cool, sorry.
No.
That's good advice.
Here in the front.
Hey, my name's Adam. I'm producing a show called Descent, which may change its title soon. And this is my first time at Fringe, and one thing that I really want to do, but I'm confused how to do, is I really want to cross-promote with other people. And this idea of like sharing a postcard, like one side is my show, another side is someone else's show, or something like that. I'm just like, how do I initiate that? Do I want to find, like, I'm sitting next to my friend, should we share a postcard if that's something we want to do? Or like, do I want to find other shows that are maybe similar? I have no idea how to do this, so if you could speak to that.
Great question.
There's 2 ways you can do it. You can do the postcard, sharing a postcard. That might get a little busy, unless you're going to have one side be your show and the other side be the other show. We have like 4. I saw a postcard last year that had like 4 shows on one postcard, and I just couldn't. When I see that, it's like I can't do this. I don't know what any of these shows are. You know, but
just can't.
But you can also do something called a program swap, which allows you to have other shows on the back of your program that you hand out. That can work because in theory they'll have your show on theirs. A good way to contact people is obviously office hours and networking. You can also go on the Hollywood Fringe website, and there's a messaging system on there that links to their email address. So if they don't go onto Hollywood Fringe, they'll still see it in their email inbox. And you can say, hey, I'm interested in doing a postcard, sharing a postcard or sharing a program. Are you interested? I can see that you have similar tags or subject matter to my play. And just go for it. Some people will do it, some people will say no, but it's worth asking.
Definitely looking for, I totally agree. I wouldn't share a postcard. I think that can get confusing. And you want, again, it's kind of what I was saying before, you want to be able to be like, this is my show, this is the thing. But looking for shows that are similar to yours or have through cross things are definitely a good idea to help promote with. Last year we had No Blog, and we reached out to Toxic Avenger, which seemed like an obvious, like, oh hey, we should, 2 big green musicals to crowd. And there were times we had like shows right stacked on top of each other, not even the same venue, but they were stacked times, and so that seemed like an obvious. And so we made like some digital flyers that was like, make it a sci-fi night or whatever. So like, but I wouldn't go so far as to like make that your full-on marketing thing. But doing extra stuff like that, and like he said, the Fringe website makes it really easy. You just go to the show. You don't have to know them at all. Just go to the show. You'll see who the producer is, and you can introduce yourself that way and suggest whatever your idea is.
What you're saying, if I'm correct, is like it may be, depending on who you are in your show, it may be more useful to like preserve the information just to your show and then find other ways to cross promote.
Yes.
Rather than splitting postcards for a fun guy.
Don't split a postcard.
Yeah.
It's my opinion, my humble opinion. It's your one thing. It's yours. You're going to be splitting ticket prices down the middle half the time. You're going to be splitting a lot of things. Don't split the postcard. Just give yourself some respect.
You don't split them, swap them. Swap the postcards.
Does that answer your question?
Yes.
Awesome. Okay, here in the front.
Thank you. My name's Nina, and my show is Hot Coals, Homegirls, and Homicides.
Nice.
It is as much of a mess as it sounds. But my question is about concessions. Like with Fringe, do you guys do that? Is it like a mess?
Good question.
From doing concessions?
So this is one question that is venue specific, actually. Have you guys done concessions before? Did you have anything to do with it, or was it run through the venue, or?
I think it's almost exclusively run through the venue. Different venues have different rules about like I mean, 3 clubs is obviously a bar, so you can like bring drinks, and I think they have food that you can bring food in and stuff like that. Some theaters don't want you to have any food or drink in there, but I don't think you personally will be, or like honestly, I don't think that the venues want you to be dealing with concessions, because if they have concessions, they're doing it on their own, and that's a way for them to kind of make money. I'm not 100% positive that's the thing, but I would say don't worry about that.
Yeah. Ask your venue about
Yeah.
that one. Yeah. Each one will have a different response, or maybe they'll all have the same response, and it will be like, don't do that.
Don't do that.
Back center, yeah.
Hi, I'm Jessica Gardner, first-time producer, Comic-Con the Musical.
Whoa!
So we have questions about, we have like some bigger costs, because it's a musical and it's bigger. We were thinking about doing like advanced VIP ticket sales and advanced merch sales of some stuff that we already have, you know what I mean? And I was just wondering if there's rules involved with that, of like what we have. I know there's like, you're supposed to save half for the Fringe site.
I can talk about that.
Yeah, that'd be great.
So the tickets, the Fringe ticketing system, if I may say so myself, is pretty awesome and dynamic. You can use it for a lot of things. We do ask that you sell at least 50% of your tickets through the Fringe site. If you want to take the other 50% and auction them off, or sell them in another way, or put them on Gold Star, whatever, like any other sort of system, you're welcome to. Just make sure that you have it blocked out on your site so you don't oversell your house by 50%, for example, or, you know, be careful about that. But otherwise, as long as you sell half of your tickets through the Fringe site, we don't have any rules about what you do with the other half.
Yeah.
Has anybody done that? Had success with that?
The first show I did, we sold some tickets not. We sold them like through our own site. We had previously run the show before we did it at Fringe, so we had like an audience already. But I mean, unless you have like a super great like built-in audience already, just use the Fringe ticket website. It's so easy, and they like help you out so much. It's just one thing to take off your plate. So I would highly recommend that. But I mean, in your case, that sounds like a great idea. So.
Cool. All right. In the back, gentleman there. Yep.
Mark Hensley, I'm producing London Calling, musical based on music by The Flash. That's a cross between Quadrophenia and Trainspotting.
Cool.
We're having a problem. How are people dealing with new equity rules regarding it's a big problem for us, especially regarding payroll and stuff like that. So I'm wondering how other producers are dealing with that.
I had an equity act. It was advertised as a non-union play, but we ended up with an equity actress who was just awesome. So we had to then follow equity rules in terms of rehearsal, stage management, and her pay. And we just went with it. One thing I will say about equity, they're over in North Hollywood. You can call them anytime. And unlike SAG, they are more than happy to walk you through. So I don't know if I'm saying something that's like wrong, but what we did is we called equity and we asked, how much do we need to pay her based on this? They gave us a chart. We then confirmed with the venue. For her, it turned out being a certain amount of money that she had to get as a stipend for every single performance. So we had her sign a separate equity contract that guaranteed she would get those stipends, and then we also gave her something that we all agreed on.
Was that last year or this year?
That was last year.
This is completely different.
Yeah, they changed the rules.
Yeah, it's all
Darn.
I think the answer is going to be the same. You're gonna, if you really want to cast someone from equity in your show, you're going to have to call equity and ask them what you have to do. Yeah, we have no particular workaround that for the festival, but they are aware of the Hollywood Fringe, and I'm sure they would be happy to tell you what that will cost you.
If you are an equity, I mean, there's a self-produced thing. I believe that would be the way to go if you are equity, or if anyone in your production. We're a membership company with equity, so we don't have to deal with that a lot, which is wonderful. If you're not, though, I believe the self-produce is the way to go. I would call and find out in your case, but I think that even if there's someone in your production, you could bring on a producer that was equity. Yeah, I don't want to speak correctly, but you could. Yeah, I mean, I would look into the self-produce rule.
I'm not sure if it's still a thing, but like you would have to. The actor basically has to agree to I don't know. I feel like I'm like.
I'm gonna pause actually.
Yeah,
this is a like none of us are legal experts, is what I'm gonna say, and everyone's experience is different. If you do want specific help with that, I would call your equity representative. You can also email support@Hollywood Fringe, and somebody will give you a more detailed response there.
Well, we'll just tell you to email it.
Yeah. We have we don't have any particular stake in that. I apologize. All right, right here in the front.
I'm Sonia.
Ooh, careful.
I'm Sonia Jackson. My show's Conversation About the Girls. These are the girls.
Oh,
She's got her elevator pitch, ladies and gentlemen. What's your question?
You spoke a little bit about sponsor awards.
Yes.
Can you talk about a little bit more about the awards?
I'll give a quick answer to that. There are two kinds of awards at the Fringe. The community awards, which are voted on by you, the community. Those are the Fringe staff or organization has nothing to do with those, but there are certain categories we bring out every year. Best of this category, best of this category, best of this category. People who see shows and have shows get to vote on those. So those are the community awards. Then there are sponsored awards, which are sponsored by other organizations, other companies, some of whom sponsor every year, some of whom come in and out. They have a certain set of criteria for their award, a certain name for their award, a certain prize for their award, and their own way of judging and jurying those. And so that information all gets posted on the Fringe website, and how to apply for them will also be in your participant newsletter. Some of them may reach out to you and say, I'm only looking for shows about the girls. Can I come and see your show? Or there may be some who you'd want to submit to and let them know. And that's how awards work in a quick pitch, yeah.
Hi, thanks for coming. I'm Gabriella. My show is Love in the Time of Taxing, T-A-K-S-I-F. I wanted to ask each and every one of you, what was the cheapest place you found with the best quality for printing postcards, posters, and
Got Print.
Where do you do your printing?
Got Print.
Got Print?
Got Print in Burbank. Sorry. Is that okay? Can I?
It's okay. You can say it.
Sorry.
Hold on 1 second. Let me have these guys answer the question. Okay. Got Print, Matthew?
No Hope Print Shop over in North Hollywood, a really good one.
Got Print is, yeah, I like them a lot.
Their turnaround time, they're not the fastest. Like you need they're not the fastest, but they are the cheapest. Yeah.
What is not fast?
And
just like you can't do it overnight.
Like
you need a couple days,
Yeah.
and there's rush. So like if you give yourself a good week, 10 days, then it's definitely the cheapest, and they have a rush pricing, and they cannot do it like overnight. But it's really cheap.
Do you guys have different responses?
No, I use NoHo copy.
NoHo copy.
Yeah.
Competition, yeah.
There you go. Those are two great options. And do you have? Is it a burning information? Because I want to make sure we get to all the questions.
No, this is about postcards.
Okay, go ahead.
They're called Peach Print online, if you find them. When we do a fairly large amount, they're actually much cheaper than Got Print. We do Got Print as well, but for larger, it's
Peach Print?
Like Peach Print or something like that. Just look them up. Peach.
All right. Awesome. Cool. Right here.
Hi.
Hi.
Hi, my name is Louisa Kendrick, and I'm directing Nar Society, the social media shaming musical.
Great. It's every day.
It sounds like you guys, your shows have been smaller, and we're a big musical. And so I'm wondering if any of you could speak to large casts and sets, and like just kind of how you deal with that.
So how many people were in Nilbog? You had a pretty big cast.
20.
Okay.
So these two have both done really big musicals.
I do big musicals. I can talk to you after if you have
Yes, I would
questions.
love to.
I-
I'll buy you a drink or coffee or anything.
Definitely. I don't know. Wednesday at 3 clubs.
I would also say, like, be prepared for your load in and load out. Like, have that down to a T and time it. Like, have a rehearsal where you time your load in and load out, because nothing will be more infuriating for your venue as well as like the people behind you is if you like run over because like you don't know what you're doing, and assign every actor like a very specific, this is what you do to load in and load out your show. And I know you did a great job of doing that.
We had 20 people, and like Nilbog was not a super tiny show. We had a lot of stuff and costumes and lighting that had to be changed, and a pianist for that one. So everyone, literally, like everybody had, like 3 clubs has different sections. There's the dressing rooms, there's the foyer, there's the kitchen, and there's the patio. And so everyone would be assigned a certain section, and there would be a bot. It was literally like, and we met, everyone's call was like 20 minutes before we could get in. so that we had hopefully had everyone on time there in the parking lot, and they'd all be holding their crate or whatever it was.
No, but you got
That's
you have
common
to do
advice.
it.
Yeah, you'll hear that from other producers too. I know
It's a
that
whole rehearsal, just that. Like
Mhm.
for
to
seriously.
stage your load in, load out.
Yeah.
One producer I heard once, one of their things was, first of all, you have to make sure everybody comes in costume and makeup, like that should not be happening
yeah.
at the venue.
That's true.
And then another thing they said was that they had made it their, and I don't know if this was recommended universally, but they had made it each actor's job to, their props were in their crate. So if they did not load in and load out their props, that was, they did not have them on stage. So they raised the stakes in that. Show of hands. Who else has a question still? In the back?
Me?
Yeah. Oh no, in the top hat, and then we'll come to you next.
Hi, my name is Yo Smith, and I'm doing a show called Migration of Monarch. It's the working title. It's a gender transformation ritual using abstract cabaret and performance theater and wearable art.
Cool. Wow.
And I have two questions. And my shows are comprised of three parts. So I do one art installation and one like a street performance, and then third part is part of the Fringe, which is the theater show. So just one question first is, what are the dates or like the time that's good for the show? Is there any like a good days or in the week or time?
All times.
For your theater show?
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, obviously, you know, I always like doing things that people who have, I don't know, it depends, because there's like, I mean, there's shows all throughout the whole week. And you're gonna, ones that are in the afternoon are usually better for like weekdays, but not necessarily, and then like Saturdays and Sundays, it's all, you know, all day long. So,
I mean, I highly recommend off times.
Yeah.
I highly recommend weeknights early in the week and matinees on the weekend. 8 p.m. on Friday, Saturday is terrible for Fringe because so many shows are at that hour, and shows that only have shows on prime times, I never get to see. And we've had some of our best houses on like Saturday at 1 o'clock or like Thursday. So those are off times are great for Fringe.
Yeah, even Monday at 5 has
Yeah.
been clutch for me. So on
Traffic in the
multiple
week
occasions.
is always a little bit
Yeah,
of a
for
contender,
sure.
but there's not as much competition.
Nothing wrong with that.
One other quick question is, so I'm trying to kind of like think out of the box doing the theater performance, and I know this year there's like an immersive theater category and stuff like that, but what are the boundaries that we can kind of like, or examples in the past, kind of expand the boundaries of like doing a performance, like, you know, like will venue, like be okay with doing something more than just a theater show, using their space and, you know, incorporating like other like site-specific performance in the venue, and what are the rules and boundaries?
So what have you seen sort of happen out of the box, and any tips
Check
that
out
you give about that?
Annie Lesser's stuff is kind of, I guess, a big pioneer for immersive stuff at Fringe, right? Would you say? So if you want to like look at some examples, Hamlet Mobile, Annie Lesser's work, right?
A good rule would be talk to your venue about any of this extra stuff you want to do so they know what's going on. Also, keeping in mind that there are many shows who share your space, so if you have like an incredible immersive experience that might take place in the lobby, but someone else is trying to use that lobby as a lobby where people come through, it's going to be seen as a not as a good gesture. So you want to be really in communication with everybody who might be involved. That being said, like we've seen people do things out on the sidewalk, we've seen people stage flash mobs, we've seen some of those things. And they can be a total surprise to the audience and people in the area, but should never be a surprise to the venue or other shows in that same zone. All right, does that answer your question, Yasmin? Yeah. Okay, hi, Elsa. All right, here,
Yes.
Yep.
Hi, I'm Susan DeMonte, and we're doing 2 shows. My solo show called Life, Death, and Entertainment. And it's one woman's journey of going through shit and rising to victory. The centerpiece is a toilet. And the other thing is called Boxes right now. It's Monologues of Gratitude. And I have 3 questions. We have our dates already at the new collective, and you mentioned previews. I didn't know whether those dates are the previews or those are extra. When are tickets available, and who does the door?
Great. So
previews are June 1 through 6.
So if you have a show during those dates, it's considered a preview. The official opening night for the Fringe is June 7th. And then tickets go on sale May 1st. Yep. And then what was the third question?
Who does the door?
It depends on your venue.
Yeah.
Most likely you.
Yeah, I was gonna say, a lot of the venues do not supply a person who does your ticketing, so you would have to do that yourself. I'm not sure of a venue that does.
Complex.
Yeah.
You pay them a fee and then they do the value.
And one way or another, it's always a good idea to have someone who's representing your show who knows about your show, because even if your venue provides box office, which some of them do, that box office person could be anyone. So having a representative from your actual show that knows information about your show and can be, nice and kind to your audience is always a good bet, regardless of what the official box office.
And if you're by yourself and you need help with front office, like that's how you make friends at office hours. There's gonna be people who are like, oh my god, I need this person dropped out. Can you come over and run box office?
Free ticket. I'll give you a free ticket
Yeah,
if you
it's
want
easy.
to run box office.
So everyone wants help, everyone else.
And if you don't have a preview, it's worth having a preview.
Yes, have a ticket.
Awesome. Great. Over here.
Yeah. Hi, I'm Manuel Blastos. I'm doing a show called Mr. Bufo, Comic Mystery by Dario Fo. I'm being performed at New York, and it's my first time in Fringe. It's a story about a clown who's reviving biblical stories, dark comedy. He's living his life with Jesus, but Jesus is his best friend, but nobody knows it yet. So I have 2 questions. I'm a producer and a star. I've never been a producer. I don't know how to do that. First question is, does Q&A stuff, because my show you'll have Q&A after the show. Is this something that is possible here, or does it help?
I would. Go ahead.
If it's built into your show time versus your load in, load out, that's entirely up to you. But I don't recommend.
Okay.
Shorter running times are good because people generally want to see lots of stuff at Fringe. So if a show's 90 minutes rather than an hour, there's a lot more room for me to see hour shows than 90-minute shows. So if doing a Q&A means your show is going to be 20 minutes longer, unless it really does help or benefit the show, I wouldn't do it.
Okay, let's see. Cross question is my friend that I said about how expanding venue, because my show started on the street entering the theater. Is this something that cannot happen in the Fringe? Do you the short amount of load in and load out? Is it something that's super hard?
You'd have to talk to your venue about that. Yeah.
Is it something that you've seen in the past?
Don't worry about it if it's done. You should totally try to do something weird and different. Whatever you want.
But if it's
you can do it. No, anything's possible. Just talk to your venue. Sorry.
Anything is possible. The
Anything
Fringe.
is possible.
And your venue managers too, we have amazing venues here at the Fringe. They're really supportive. They will do what they can to make anything happen. We give you guys, there's a lot of rules that you've heard today. All of those rules are broken every single year, often by these people, or people like them. So it's good to know sort of what the standard practice is, but it doesn't mean that's how you have to do it. And I think your venue managers are artists in their own sense, and they want to help you make things happen if they can.
And they want to have great stuff at their venues.
Yeah. They want people to be talking about the
So
show
you're on
that
the same
started on
team
the
with your
sidewalk.
venue,
Yeah, totally. All right, show of hands. Hold on, I already went to you before. Go ahead. Yes.
Hi, I'm Diana Barco. I'm doing a show called Shattered. It's about your life falling apart and learning to pick the pieces up and put yourself back together. My question was, I had an idea about maybe reaching out to corporations and foundations for sponsorship and then advertising them in my program. Are there rules against that, or is that what people do?
There are no rules against it.
There's no rules,
So it's a good idea.
Great idea. Go for it. Yeah.
Good luck, and let us know who those sponsorships are.
Yeah.
Let us know who works out.
Hi, my name is Lita Siska, and I'm doing a show called The Liar's Punishment about a homeless woman and a social worker who may have one in common than they thought. I'm giving 20% of that, of all the proceeds to the Downtown Women's Center.
Nice.
And I have a question about when money is collected, is it up to me? Is it up, and I'm with the complex, so I know I'll have someone there. But for donation, does that go for every show? Is it at the end? Has anyone ever done that before for donation?
So at the complex, I did it last year, and what happens is you pay for the venue up front.
Right.
Then as far as in-person ticket sales, they are kept with the box office. At the end of your performance, you go to the box office and collect it. Also make sure to go to the box office before your performance and make sure everything's set. They'll need a separate envelope or box or cash box that is just your play's ticket sales.
Okay,
And then for every show. And then they will give it to you back at the end of every single show. And then you'll also get a check eventually from the Fringe of your ticket sales that were bought online. And then so you go from there with how you want to distribute it to your charity.
100% of the ticket revenue that you sell through the Fringe website comes back to you in a settlement check right after.
At the end of the festival, we will send you a link to a page on the website where you will go in and basically confirm your mailing address and add your walk-up numbers just so, for our accounting of how many tickets were sold at the festival. Then you complete that short survey and then hit request check, and we send you a check within a week.
And if you are taking additional donations for a cause, that's something I would talk to your venue about and make sure you keep an eye on every single night. I would not trust or entrust someone else to track your monies for you unless they have a system for it. So I would talk to your venue about that.
And you can talk to me afterwards.
There you go. All right, show of hands. Great, all the way in the back. Yes, sir.
Hi, my name is Thomas Silcott. This is my first Fringe. I'm doing a solo show called Here Comes Ruther, which is a story about connection and relationship through time, through rhythm, song, and character. And my question is for reviews. Have any of you ever used social media to tell your friends, family, and general public to post their own reviews after they've seen the shows? And if you have, how does that work for your show?
I personally have tried to have my shows have their own hashtag. So I'll tell people, and it depends on the venue, but I'm super open to be yo, post photos during the show, use our hashtag to share on social media. So I'm 100, and I try to build that into putting it on the program or saying it in the opening that please take photos and please share this stuff on social media. And I think having your own hashtag for the show, kind of like our Hollywood Fringe Fest 17 hashtag, is a great way to share, because then all the photos that anyone takes during your show will all be compiled in one area, which people can then search and see all of your stuff, which is really cool. But yeah, I mean, definitely tell your friends if they see your stuff to post it online. That 100%.
You can even send a follow-up email to all your patrons and saying, hey, hope you enjoyed it. We would really appreciate it if you go on the Fringe site and leave a review. There's nothing wrong with that. And because people will totally mean to and be like, oh, I have to do this, and then they forget. So if you email them, later they'll get it when they're actually at their computer. And they're like, oh yeah, I did mean to do that. So yeah.
It's a relatively new element to the Fringe site, is that when someone purchases a ticket, they can check a box to share their email contact with the producer so they can get a follow-up email. It's a relatively new, right?
Yeah, so
everyone seemed surprised. I was like, is that true?
Yeah. People can opt in to share their email address with you when they buy a ticket. Also, anyone who does buy a ticket through the Fringe site gets sent an email right after the performance time for your show, encouraging them to write a review.
And just a quick
Fringe ticket website.
Really quick question, because I want to take the questions from them, but we haven't talked about this. Do you guys use pre-show announcement? Do you come out and say hey everybody?
Yeah.
Yeah,
definitely.
Whether it's live,
You do a pre-show announcement.
I don't do pre-show.
But it totally depends on what kind of show it is.
Yeah,
no, I'm not sure. Totally
it
depends on what
on
kind
the
of show.
show. We've done them both recorded, more professionally and recorded and serious. And then also with Nilbog, I ran out there and got everyone excited and was like, who's ready for whatever, So it depends on what your show is, but definitely talking about your hashtags, what your handles are on the social medias, and any opportunity for stuff. If you have a fun show where you can incorporate social media stuff, or have a photo opportunity outside, or I don't know, you get a free ticket if you leave a Fringe review. I know all those things to get people to post and share, because exposure is huge.
It's also just really respectful to say hey, we need to get you out of the theater, as soon as possible because we have another show. And you can also direct people hey, if you want to talk to us, if you have questions or whatever, we're going to be at this place. You know, so that just sort of sets you up more powerfully for after the show. Everyone's like, well, where did they go? You know, so that's how I use that sort of.
That being said, they are not universally done. If you're like thinking about your show and you're thinking it would be awkward to have a pre-show announcement, you don't have to do it. You will see a mix at Fringe.
If you have no one else in your team, it's okay, don't do it.
All right, show of hands. We're gonna make sure we get to all the questions. Okay, I'm gonna see, do you have a question? I'm just gonna count real quick. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Okay, totally doable. So I'm gonna start with you, and then I'm gonna go all the way across so we get to everybody.
Hi, I'm Steve
Oh, you
West.
have one.
I'm a newbie. My show's about the Algonquin Roundtable during the Roaring 20s. It's going to be just 3 slots, ensemble comedy. Simple question, what quantity of postcards?
Good question.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, it's better to have more and like have a few extra laying around than not have enough. Keep 100 is not enough.
I'd say more than 100 for sure.
You're gonna need, think of your budget, but yeah, you're gonna need more than 100. Have some in your car, have some in your knapsack, your backpack, have your actors make sure they have plenty to pass out to people. Have enough that everyone has a big stack in their
It
place.
depends on how many people. If you're a one man, if you're a solo act, then you might only want 500 because you're not going to give. But if you have an 8-person cast, then you're going to want to give everyone enough to give out. So
500 has served me well each year, and I still have postcards at my apartment from all of my shows. So yeah, there's some number that you don't need to go over.
500
Crazy.
to 1,000.
Yeah,
500 to
yeah.
1,000.
So for an ensemble, I mean, in a play, 8 people, which you've done big shows, so somewhere around 500 to 1,000.
I get 1,000.
I'd say 1,000.
Yeah.
Woo. All right. Show of hands here. Yep.
My name is Wayne Self, and I'm producing a show called Upstairs, which is the true story of the Upstairs Lounge fire, which was an arson fire that took place in New Orleans, Louisiana, at the gay bar.
Oh, yeah.
In 1973. My question, well, I live in Orange County, don't judge. My question is, is there any advice from the panel for mothers about people who live out of town and so maybe can't make it to all the different functions?
Oh, I feel you. In 2010, very first Fringe, I was still living in San Diego and driving up for the Fringe, so also trying to pick and choose what to go to. So I totally feel your pain there.
I think it also goes for people who work and have to prioritize otherwise. So to that point, I would say, first of all, don't sweat it as far as making it to everything. Make what you can make and go to the opening night party, go to the closing night party, and hit what you can hit, but otherwise just don't. I wouldn't worry about it.
Plan days of it. Like you can start on the weekends, like on a Saturday, shows start at what, like 10:30, 11?
Sometime, in the morning,
and go all the way until midnight, right? So you can
sometimes even later.
If you're I forgot who I'm talking to. I'm sorry. if you are at limited time, then I would like pick the days and be like, these are going to be my Fringe days, and you can come up and. But again, like Ben said, you don't feel like you're doing something wrong if you're just in
People aren't getting ahead of you because they're at more events.
Yeah.
So.
Right. I also live in Orange County, so I get the commute, and like when you come in here, you're gonna do some work.
Right.
You're gonna do a lot. You're gonna fit a lot in the day.
Right.
Right. So you try to pack as much. But I've never had problems with people who are out of town if they're like invested, and I really made the outreach to them personally. And we just make it a dinner date, make it, sort of make it more personal. I think that makes
I had
sense.
no idea you lived in Orange County. I see her all the time.
It's worth it. I love it.
Check out the Twitter chats, though. I mean, like, you don't need to be there for that. And there's definitely a lot of good stuff that goes down on those.
We don't have Twitter here.
Also, all of these all of your workshops and town halls that we host as part of the Fringe, these all get filmed, thank you Dave, and put online on our YouTube channel, and you can watch them in their entirety over the course of many years. And so if you wanted to do that, you could. So if there's a session where you're like, oh God, I'm not going to make it to the next workshop to learn about whatever, you can watch it online.
They usually go up like 3 days later.
Yeah, Dave's quick. You can see all of my different haircuts over the last 6 years. They're all pretty much like this. Right here in the front.
Hi everyone, my name is Sophie Khan. My solo show is called Mexistani. It's about my experiences growing up with a Mexican Catholic mom and a Pakistani Muslim dad. And bisexual. This is everything. And I just found out from my new Fringe friend, Peter.
Yeah.
Friendships.
Fringe friendships.
I just found out that we have to have the Hollywood Fringe Festival logo on the flyers. Are there specifications as to how big or small?
Just has to be on there, and it's on hollywoodfringe.org/branding.
Yep.
You can get the logo there in a couple of different formats. You can do pretty much anything you want with that logo. It can be huge, it can be small, it can be semi-transparent, it can be opaque, it can be filled with the pattern of your choosing. You can be creative. We just want it on there so that when we are there in festival time and there are postcards everywhere, we make sure that every postcard out and about in the Fringe Zone is in fact a Fringe show.
And also, if you've already printed your postcards and you forgot the logo, you can just print logo stickers and put them on your, we're not sure about it, we just want to do that.
Yep.
I'm her new Fringe friend, Peter. I'm directing and producing a play called Penetration, and it's basically what you think it's about. It's a comedy, romance, threesome. Anyway, I don't have a production designer yet, and I'm wondering if there's a place on the Fringe site where I can talk to potential people who are not going to be super expensive. I know there's restrictions on what I can do on stage, and have to work with the furniture and giving and all that stuff. But that's my
search on Facebook for Hollywood Fringe
Yeah, that's
Festival
what I was
and
just gonna
LA
say.
Theater. There's a Facebook group there. That's a great place to go for things like that. Also, the Big Cheap Theater Yahoo group is another place where LA Theater more broadly kind of goes and looks for people to hire and any additional.
Awesome. Thank you so much.
Any tips outside of that?
You might want to check out some places like DeviantArt. They're forum. There are a lot of really great artists who are looking for work to build a portfolio, and you can set the price.
Where would I look?
DeviantArt.com, and then go to their forum section. You can make a request, set your price, and you'll find some pretty good artists there who are looking for some work.
And that's more for like design work or artwork rather than production design, right?
Yes, I'm sorry. Did he say design?
I think both, yeah.
I'm so sorry.
No,
I think
that's
he said
so great.
product
That's a
design.
really good tip for people looking for
so sorry.
graphic designers.
Katelyn does amazing graphic design. She did my poster last year and it rocked. So.
But are you working on projects this year too, Katelyn?
Yeah, okay. Yeah, I actually posted on the Fringe Festival Facebook, like Dave just mentioned, and there's some examples of my work.
Do you illustrate?
Join that.
Yeah, I also like to go to shows and doodle, so it's a fun way. Like there's so many different things. You probably have lots of different talents that you can use at Fringe, and this is just one that I've found that really gets word out and makes friends really quick because people like to be drawn.
So great. It's
So
so great.
yeah.
Awesome. Okay, show of hands. We have a few more questions, and then I think did you still have one over here too?
Actually, she asked.
Okay, perfect. Okay, smiling lady in the blue t-shirt. Hi.
Hi, Deborah Geffner. Robert's Nero was over the knee. Wait, over the picture. But that's the show. It's a one-man show with 3 people. And this guy's. My question: the Fringe program, the Fringe booklet. Is it possible to buy page ads in there?
Hell yeah.
Yeah. Is there going to be an auction again this year?
For the front inside cover, the 2 centerfolds, and the back cover, we do an auction for those premium ad placements. Otherwise, it is essentially randomized. Yeah.
When is that auction?
That auction we usually put it up in mid-April. It'll be in the newsletter, and you can purchase ads other than those at /market. So hollywoodfringe.org/market.
And thank you for all this. This has been amazing. Thank you so much.
Thanks for coming. Yeah.
All right. Oh, that was nice. Go ahead.
I'm Christian Georgescu. My show is called House of Me. It's MTV meets Grey Gardens.
Oh.
Maybe it's a different question, but if your show is about depression or memory loss, let's say, and I want to reach out to specialty groups, let's say UCLA Medical Center or whatever, is there any tips anybody to ask for? Is it an events coordinator? Like,
You guys ever done anything like that?
Yeah, I would. You want to reach into like schools? I mean, I would look at their publicity department if they have one. I mean, that wouldn't really be for a school. If it was an organization, you'd want to look at their publicity department, or maybe human. No, I'm not sure. I honestly just usually go to the directory and anyone who feels like, yeah, that might be right. And I use a poll, and you just kind of try everybody, and you can also call the main office and say, I'm working on a project that benefits this group. Who might I speak to about, so I think it'll depend on the organization. Yeah.
Similar in the way that Nick was saying earlier, he tries to write the article for press. When we're doing outreach for the Fringe, if it's something that I want another organization or individual to share information about, I want to basically write the email they're going to forward for them, so they don't have to do it. So they don't have to read all my information and figure out what they need to say to their audience. Sometimes I will straight up say, copied and pasted below is a sample of what you might be able to share. If you're interested, no pressure if not at all, thank you so much for your time. But I will literally say and here it is.
Yep.
Any more questions? I think we had one more, yep.
Hi, I'm Maureen Linker. I'm directing and producing Emergency Operation about a man who has heart surgery to fix his broken heart and the consequences. And my question is, with the pre-show announcements and things before the show, have any of you done or heard of people doing raffles or anything like that to also help bring in extra funds?
Yeah, that also sounds like an awesome idea. Again, I would talk to kind of Kristen's point is build this into the time frame of your show, because you definitely don't want something like that eating into the time of your show, especially if it's going to push it over an hour mark or something like that. It's at Fringe, everything's very time sensitive and time oriented. So I think that's a great idea. You want the amount of time that you're getting and also paying for. You know what I mean? If your show is longer than an hour, you're going to be paying for more than an hour. So I don't know if a raffle would actually help you save money when actually you would have to pay for a longer amount of time for your show.
A great opportunity to do extra things to promote your show are all the events at Fringe Central, like the opening night party and the every Wednesday night. There's different things. I don't know what as far as a raffle goes, if there would be different things as far as that, but always check with the Fringe to make sure it's okay what you want to do, but any wacky ideas you have that are engaging things are great ideas to do at the Fringe events that happen weekly.
I've seen it happen a couple of times. I would say if you're going to do a raffle, make sure the thing you're raffling is something people really want. Something that if you as a stranger and you know anything about your show, 6 nights at the Magic Castle, I want that, or whatever. Maybe you don't, maybe you do. But something that...
It's a lot of nights. It's a lot of nights of magic.
You have to say specific audience, right? Yeah, I don't know why I said the Magic Castle, but that's what I said. I should have said, in Paris. I would also buy a raffle ticket for that.
You know what to get her.
Yeah. Oh, gosh. Show of hands. Any other last questions? Pretty much just about me.
Make sure to run it by your venue, because
Yeah.
they might have rules and regulations around stuff like that. So.
Awesome. Okay, we've done a very amazing job, so I'm going to do this one last question. Yeah?
This is just, my name is Jenny Fawn, and my show is a one-woman show called Under the Jello Mold, about the last 6 months of my mom's life. It's a comedy. So my question is, I know everything's very time sensitive, but I do remember being at a Fringe venue last year where everything was backed up by an hour.
An unnamed venue? Yeah,
So,
just to keep it.
so in a case of something like that, what happens? Or what is
Shame
the,
on the producers that
Yeah.
allow that to happen.
Right.
That's
so
the number one
what's the
reason.
stipulation? What happens then?
I wouldn't think a venue would allow that.
There's no repercussions. I don't. I don't.
Just don't.
I understand. What do you do when your audience is now expecting?
Yeah. No. That's tough, and that's why it's really important when you choose your venue, and and it sounds like most everyone has already chosen their venue, but you want to make sure that that you get with a venue that you trust and that is going to work and do things efficiently and organize things well. But unfortunately, if something like that occurs, there's not really much you can do.
And we've had situations where people have gone a little bit over their time, and we've had to coordinate, just a few minutes, nothing that extreme. That is an outlier situation. That does not generally happen.
I would
These
throw a
stage
fit
managers
with the
do it.
venue.
Yeah.
Because most venues have fines and stuff, like if you were to go over, you get fined, and so that's crazy that should.
I think it was an
happen that much.
accumulation of issues and it just.
I think, I'll step in here. Our venues, I think all of which have done Fringe before and are running really tight operations for the most part. It sounds like that was an outlier situation. And just like in any situation at Fringe or life in general, as much as we plan, there may be prepared to sometimes have a disaster strike. What if there's a power outage at your venue and all the shows are delayed by 30 minutes? What if one of your, there are always things like, and this is something kind of fun to ask other participants about when you see them at mixers, like, have you ever had a disaster situation? And sometimes they'll share stories with you, and like, what did you do? We as Fringe staff members, we've run into disaster situations, so it's good to remember that as much as we plan, sometimes those things may happen, but they are, I think, outlier situations. Very much so.
And I would say if that specific situation were to occur, I would hope when it was like 15 minutes off, the first thing you would go to would be your venue and go, hey, W2F, we
How
need
can
to
I
sort
help?
this out. And almost any of them I would think would be like, oh yeah, that's a major problem, we'll take care of it. So I think the first rule of thumb is just polite communication as a first resort, and each venue has its own rules and regulations, and they will enforce them when called upon to do so.
Yeah. And it's good to remember that the things will get stressful and things will get hard. We're in like a win-win-win situation at Fringe where like your venue does well when you do well. It's in their best interest for you to do well, and vice versa. So be nice to them. Same for the Fringe staff and Fringe Festival. Our Fringe Festival is terrible if you guys don't do well. So we are all about making sure you do well and giving you the tools for that to be possible. Like things like today. Please join us at 3 clubs. Also, please give a huge warm thank you. Not welcome, we're done.